720 ABC Radio Perth. It is 7 minutes away from 5 o'clock, and that's Patrick Reagan, whose company is planning to build this new wind farm in West Arthur, in Darkin, less than 50 kilometres from Collie. Well, Professor Ray Wills is the Managing Director of Future Smart Strategies, who has some thoughts about this plan. Hello, Ray. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
3 years, a lot of power. That seems ambitious. Is it out of the question?
Not at all. So to build a wind farm of that size is really just a modular construction. You can actually start wind farms as you go, so you could potentially even start it earlier. However, Western Power like things to be connected at once, not over time, so therefore it'll likely be connected at the end of the build.
This plan proposing 100 turbines, 600 megawatts, is described as Western Australia's largest. Put us in perspective for us. What does this look like in terms of the West Australian grid and then broader, the Australian grid?
Yeah, so for Western Australia, it's a big chunk of energy, but it's not so big that it's out of place on the grid. The largest wind farm we have at the moment is Yandin, and that's at around about 215 megs, so it's roughly 3 times bigger. So, yeah, a lot more turbines, a lot bigger turbines too. These turbines are going to be 6 and 7 megs at least to meet the equation. And it's a really exciting project. We only need about 3 or 4 more of these ones, and we're done. We're 100% renewable.
Well, the big question would often be when these come along, what happens when the sun doesn't shine and what happens when the wind doesn't blow? Do you expect this will be paired up with some sort of storage as well? Is that part of the plans for this particular project?
Well, of course, famously, Neoen is a developer who's also establishing a battery down at Collie, which is 800 megs to start. So it can actually store most of the energy off of this wind farm if it needs to. Ideally, what we should be doing with the transmission lines down there is poking wind down it when we can, and when the wind's not there, we poke the batteries down instead.
And we're talking about 46 kilometres away from the existing transmission and infrastructure of there. How easy is it to put something like that into the existing Southwest integrated system?
So it'd be logically getting itself ready to replace Mooja when it closes down in 2029. It would be a rational place to have a whole pile more energy. It's obviously going to be a lot faster than waiting for a nuclear power plant to be built by about 2040.
You're on 720 ABC Radio Perth. Professor Ray Wills is the Managing Director of Future Smart Strategies, talking to me about this plan for West Arthur, a new 100-turbine energy project with 600 megawatts. Now, the claim is made there that that amount of energy is enough to power the entire Perth CBD. Does that hold up? Can you give us a bit of a perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just talking about the CBD, the city precinct. There's 2 million people in Perth. They're suggesting their power will be enough for 300,000 homes. I actually think it'll be a bit more than that because they've been very conservative about how much energy they think they'll make. And that's the secret juice. You don't want to spook the financiers, so you give a conservative number about what you'll make and then you beat the expectation, and that makes the company more profitable. So the short of that is that for all of Perth, 2 million people, it's about 15% of all of Perth's power. If it's just the CBD, yeah, sure, about 100 megs sounds about right.
And private investment in this sort of project is obviously what's going to drive a lot of these. The West Australian grid is a little bit different to what it is over east, of course. But these are sort of projects that are attractive to investors when we can put them up against potential, maybe possibly nuclear energy?
Currently, no, because we've got grid problems. We keep on getting an answer from Western Power that the grids are full. The place we want to build is not suitable. Collie will be really suitable because the Collie power station will be gone. But the other thing, of course, that's changing alongside this is every year we're putting 60 or 80 megs more solar on rooftops. So we've now got our largest source of energy in the grid in Western Australia is solar rooftops. Wind will soon be number 2.
Take it to the 2040 timeline. Do you think we'll have many more projects like this by the time the first reactor is potentially maybe going to turn on?
Our critical thing is to decarbonise lots of industry. The industries that make big rocks into small rocks use a lot of energy, and it would be really good if we did that with renewables, not with fossil fuels. And we will be able to do that with renewable energy, especially as this tsunami of batteries arrives, because batteries are just getting so cheap. And it really is time that we started building big batteries. And we are. We've got Neoen doing one, we've got Synergy building one, and there's even a solar farm that I'm associated with in Cunderdin that's putting in 220 megs of solar as well, so of batteries as well. So adding those batteries is critical to making renewables work. We need it to be reliable. Batteries help us do that, and they do it very cheaply.
When you look at projects being suggested like nuclear power just before we hit the top of the clock, what does that make you feel because nuclear could be a quite good very low carbon energy source, but does that distract from the game on the ground as it is now?
There's no doubt that it's a low emissions energy source. If we had a government that was in power for 10,000 years to look after the nuclear waste, that'd be a pretty good thing. And it's slow to build. I guess the challenge here is that it can't compete on price with renewables. And when we add even cheaper batteries next year and even cheaper batteries again the year after, it simply won't compete. There won't be any private money that wants to do this. It will only be government taxpayer money.
Professor Ray Wills, thank you for joining us on Drive.